This is Andy Purewal off Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm joined by promoter Eddie Hearn, second day on the bounce. Eddie, I'm not going to ask you about your attire because we're in limited time, so I won't give every. Yeah, so
Right.
I mean, if you say so, Eddie.
Andy, mate, I love you, son, but you cannot ever criticise me about my sartorial elegance.
Right, so I imagine you're going to try and say that I'm wearing something bad now.
I mean, you're all right. I mean, but you've obviously got a few quid coming in. You've got a Burberry jacket, could be snide.
It's not. I bought it on Monday. So.
Okay, a Boss T-shirt that's too big for you. Right. I thought they were Gucci, but they're Tommy Hilfiger, so questionable. But leave me alone, mate. I'm a 42-year-old geezer. What's the matter with you? Bullying an old man, trying to have a little go.
It's nice for the tables to be turned, Eddie. Obviously, Eddie, we're on limited time, as we've said, so we're just going to kind of get straight into it.
We're not on limited time. We're on limited time for you.
Oh.
Because I do it every day. I do it every day. So we want to keep it 3 or 4 minutes because there's only so much you could ask. Today, you're going to ask me about Canelo against Usyk. You're going to ask me about the 1.5 million viewing figures for Taylor Serrano. You're going to ask me about any update on AJ. Go on. Well,
can I do my job now?
Go on then.
Oh, I've got a few spins on that as well.
A couple of days in Vegas, you've piped you right up, hasn't it?
Eddie, on the Canelo Bivol fight, it's come out that there is a rematch clause in place. Can you just kind of elaborate on that and just give us some details?
For that rematch to take place, commercially it has to be viable, so it's not like it would happen regardless, but when and if Saul gets beat, the fight would be so big there would always be a rematch of that fight. So it's not a straightforward standard one that you see in some fights, but yes, if he was to lose, it's very likely because of the size of the rematch that you would see it.
Tom Brown has come out in an interview saying that they made an offer to Canelo, I assume it's obviously around the time when you guys were trying to get this deal done, for Errol Spence to have fought him for $45 million and at 164. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, wasn't it? No, but it was a 2-fight deal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Charlo.
Charlo beforehand.
Who has Charlo ever fought? You don't know, do you?
I do know, but I'm waiting for...
Tell me Charlo's best wins.
I'm on the spot now, I don't like being on the spot.
Because I'll tell you, no notable victories. Charlo is like so... I mean, I actually think he's a decent fighter. But when is Charlo going to fight anyone? Anyone? He has not done anything to warrant a fight with Canelo Alvarez. And that fight would be a voluntary defence of Canelo Alvarez's 168-pound title. What title can Canelo Alvarez take from Charlo? I repeat, who has Charlo ever beaten to warrant a fight with Canelo Alvarez? Errol Spence at 164. Canelo's never fighting below 168. Never again. Also, a voluntary dispute. He likes going in there and taking titles off people. Look at his run. Take Yildirim out the mandatory. Daniel Jacobs, he took his IBF world middleweight title off him. Sergey Kovalev, he took his WBO light heavyweight title off him. Callum Smith, after that, took his WBA Ring Magazine title off him. Billy Joe Saunders, he took his WBO title off him. Caleb Plant, he took his IBF title off him. And now Dmitry Bivol for the WBA light heavyweight championship. This is what Canelo Alvarez does. He likes to make history. He'll fight all those guys. You know that. He don't care. He'd fight Usyk. We talk about that. Worried about fighting Charlo at middleweight. A middleweight who's never beaten anyone. I mean, these people get very soppy and sooky because they signed a one-fight deal. He went over, he beat their champion, and he came back. But don't worry, after 3 fights, maybe he'll fight another one of their guys.
I've got to quickly wrap through a few things, Eddie. Canelo-Usyk. I mean, you spent 2 minutes at the beginning.
Canelo-Usyk, this is very straightforward. After the AJ-Usyk fight, I took AJ to San Diego to see Eddie Reynoso and Canelo. I had a conversation with Canelo, and he was telling me how to beat Usyk and what he'd do, if he was AJ or himself. And I said, do you think you beat Usyk? He said, of course. I said, honestly? And he went, yeah. I said, so if I made that fight at a pound over cruiserweight, you'd fight him? Of course. And I'd beat him. And that was it. And I told that story, and now it's gone absolutely nuts. So I don't think he'll fight him just yet, and I think Anthony Joshua will beat him in July. But who knows what the future holds.
Two more to squeeze. Taylor Serrano doing 1.5 million pay-per-view, not pay-per-view, but just 1.5 million subscriptions and viewers tuning in for that fight. But I've seen a few people ask how many were watching in America and the UK and Ireland alone. Do you know?
No, but the bulk of those numbers came from America and UK and Ireland. The exact split, I mean, I'm sure you can speak to DAZN about percentages of them, but the bulk of those numbers, some other key markets as well, but the big numbers from that 1.5 million come from the UK and the US.
WBC are going to pressure Tyson Fury to find out about what he's going to do with his career, if he's going to vacate or what have you. Just your thoughts on it?
Oh, well, Tyson Fury's always good to his word. He's already said that he's definitely not fighting again. So he doesn't need his WBC world title. So I'm sure when they have those conversations, Tyson Fury will vacate the belt next week and let a young, hungry fighter who wants to fight for the title, fight for the title. So definitely, after everything that Tyson Fury said, I'm sure he'll vacate the belt next week.
Final one, somebody you know well, Dana White, just a quote I think I just want to read to you. One of the big problems with boxing is that all these guys are overpaid, and every time they put on a fight, it's a going out of business sale. You can't build a league like that, you can't build a sport.
I don't agree with all of it, I agree with some of it. I think there are a lot of boxers that are overpaid in terms of their commercial value, but I think there are also some fighters that are underpaid in terms of their commercial value. And some fighters that are paid in accordance to their commercial value. I also agree with Dana White that a lot of promoters put on shows without any commercial understanding of the numbers and end up doing their bollocks on the fight, and you can't run a business like that. He's very right. We're not one of those people. But there are many fighters in boxing who are overpaid in relation to their commercial value, but it's a very tough sport, and I hope fighters get every penny they can.
Eddie, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Cheers,